Louise Moyes looks back on her mother's life, grateful for the time they spent together and thinking about how it ended.
I was the person that fed her her last meal. I mean, that is a beautiful thing, to care for your mother who cared for you.
Louise's mother, Magda Moyes, was born in England in 1938. It was there that she met her husband, John Moyes.
They danced. My mom was my dad's ballroom teacher when they were 17. That's how they met. My mom was my dad's ballroom teacher. So they danced right into their 80s.
They came to Newfoundland in 1964 and started a family, Jonathan and Louise, and eventually Rebecca. Louise says Magda and John Moyes were always on the go.
My parents had a very active life well into their 80s. They traveled. They would come to France with us. We would all go to England to visit family. They went every year, Mom and Dad.
But Magda Moyes' health took a turn in 2020, a cancer diagnosis that eventually became untreatable. Which
was a big surprise. You just think, oh, Mom is so healthy. She's always been so healthy, never smoked, hardly drank. And then that was the beginning of a year and a half of treatment and quite a bit of suffering for her.
Louise Moyes says her mother advocated for medical assistance in dying decades ago, long before it had a name and long before MAID became legal in Canada in 2016. So when her mother asked to apply for MAID, she wasn't surprised at all.
Not a bit. My mom was always pragmatic. She was always the administrator. And but also, it wasn't just a matter of practicality. It was, she said, I don't want to waste away to nothing and in pain.
You have to have an enduring condition that causes suffering as determined by the patient, and that isn't amenable to being improved by any means that's acceptable to the patient. So most of the time that's fairly straightforward when you see it. So the vast majority of cases, I'd say 90, maybe even 95% of cases, are very straightforward.
Dr. Aaron McKim is this province's Director for Medical Assistance in Dying. For him, helping patients in the last days of their lives is deeply meaningful work.
I think a lot of us go into healthcare because of that connection that we get with people and that ability to assist people through difficult situations. You know, and this is one of the very special and sacred times in somebody's life.
Demand for MAID is growing in Newfoundland and Labrador. In 2021, there were 69 requests for MAID. In 2022, 107 people applied. The next year, 2023, there were 111 requests. More than half of the requests come from people living with the pain of terminal cancer.
I had one patient say to me, he put it very succinctly, he said, I'm as bad as I can stand to be, and it's just going to get worse from here. And, you know, in cases like that, sometimes it's a comfort to patients to know that they have another option.
For Louise Moyes and her family, the experience with MAID was overwhelmingly positive.
So she was able to come to that peace where she could say, I have had the best life I could possibly have. I have a wonderful husband, beautiful children, grandchildren. I did all these things. I've traveled. I've had a very full life.
It's hard to say goodbye to loved ones, but Magda Moyes did it on her own terms, leaving her family with a measure of peace.
She knew what she wanted to wear. We did her eyebrows and her lipstick, and she said she wanted us to sing the Beatles' All You Need Is Love as she went out, as she died. So the doctor came in very gently, said, Mrs. Moyes, are you still wanting this procedure? And she smiled, so grateful. Yes, I'm ready. And she said goodbye. And we started singing. And we were crying and smiling, and that's what we do most. No, but as a family, we sang and danced together all the time. And then she gave a big yawn, and then she was gone, so peaceful.
Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.